Right, but we were, in our policy, we were supposed to identify if that number was 10,000 or whatever, but also, for example, for the example we're using for street maintenance, we had a budget number. 80% of that budget was spent on something else. We were supposed to come back, so we were saying that we're gonna come back and have a conversation on the budget to help to allocate, to help allocate it, but if we pass the budget, there's no, what we passed is what it is. Unless the mayor brings to us to have an inter-budget transfer, but if we put 50,000 in street maintenance, and we've identified priorities, lights, streets, and ditches, those three priorities, but the mayor wants to spend it in one of the other priorities within that, if it's not past the amount, which we didn't set, that's the way it is. And I thought we were gonna come back and have a conversation, once we were talking about that earlier, to make sure that we're all on, that helps, that helps us to create policy that moves with the budget, to also for departments that have, may need funds. But I don't know when we get to come back and do that.
The adopting the budget doesn't negate being able to set a policy.
Right.
We're just adopting the budget for law tonight.
Could request an agenda item, can have an agenda item. Council can either ask the mayor to produce an agenda item, or 3 council members can put on an agenda item to establish whatever expenditures you want to make under the budget, or to amend the budget.
Yeah, passing the budget doesn't stop what you're saying, so that's not an issue. But the percentage, what was it, 117 in that account, something like that? Okay, and there was, I don't know if it was the crack in the street where we had to get there was something else besides trees in there.
Some parking area work in there, which is about 40,000.
Yeah, we'll have to get that breakdown too, because there's a few things. But, okay, so, item 11, discuss committee meeting and vote requesting a temporary injunction against Pant Hills Apartments. Councilman Jones and Wallace.
I'll speak on it. So, I was the one that called the community meeting. The reason that I did it was for 2 reasons. One, city council tried to call an emergency meeting a couple weeks back, and that emergency meeting got canceled. And the reason why was because the mayor sent out an email saying that the attorney said that there wasn't enough health or liability issues, or it didn't go under the code within the state. And I feel like a lot of the city council members felt that there was extreme health issues and concerns with the Panther Hills, as it was expressed today during citizens' comments. So the only way for us to really hold a meeting was to have a community meeting, so that there was an understanding that there's a need and there's a dire necessity for us to actually address these issues with it. And second is also because City Council has been asking for inspection reports. We received 2 a couple, month and a half ago, and both of those said that for Building 9 and 12 it failed. One of our meeting minutes, let me see which one specifically. One of the meeting minutes, there was specific language I want to direct right here. For the August 18th City Council meeting, it says Randall made a motion, or Councilman Randall made a motion to extend the temporary certificate of occupancy for buildings 9 and 12 unless Panther Hills Apartment Complex requests a reasonable extension, with a second by City Councilwoman Williams. Mayor called for the vote, and City Councilman Rowland wants a report on the foundation inspections to be included. We all said yes. So that was pretty much us just saying that we just want to see the inspection reports within the Panther Hills. To this day, we have yet to get them out, and I truly do feel like if everything passed, it would be as simple as just showing us the documents saying that the building passed. So what happened at the meeting, we talked to students. So students, as they said in the assistant's comments, they expressed all the issues that came with it. You know, from the sewage, to the mold, to a whole bevy of issues. So, because we felt like necessary steps weren't taken in terms of the Panther Hills apartment being accountable in a sense of just showing us, you know, we decided let's propose a temporary injunction, which was described to us, which is basically an order from the district court that said they need to stop until a specific issue is addressed. And I think the specific issue that needs to be addressed is us getting that inspection report, and so that they don't continue to build and build and build without, you know, the building being saying that it's safe and that all the inspections say that it's passed. And at this point, we have more than 10 buildings. Like I said, the 2 that we have, it failed, and it's been issues trying to get the Panther Hills apartment complex also on the agenda. And you know, there was also concerns in terms of when the city engineer left, you know, getting a temporary city engineer to inspect it, and even with that was unable to get on the agenda, so we couldn't talk about that. So that's why it's on the agenda now, and that's kind of the basis. And when we asked the students what would they rather choose, because 2 options were available, which would do a temporary injunction, or 3. Well, the first one was just kind of not do anything about it, just, you know, hope for the best, but everyone agreed not to do that. The second one was, you know, for us to continue to tell Chief Bordeaux and Mayor Allen and management the issues, and hopefully it can get rectified. Or 3, do the temporary injunction, and there was an overwhelming choice to do the temporary injunction.
Councilman Jones?
You touched
Okay.
on it. Well, I would like to reiterate that even if you go into our last agenda minutes for the previous 2 meetings, it's been asked that we have Panther Hill representation from Via Veritas as well come to our meeting, and that has not seemed to come into fruition, but we do hear them present doing citizen comments or even for discussion upon Panther Hill.
A couple of comments, corrections. City Attorney Kerwin informed us that by law, we can't make a private developer come here. That has nothing to do with me. The city attorney gave us that. The other thing was, as you said, in the email that I sent out, that email was from our city attorney, Ms. Hayes, who said, by law, the 24-hour notice, based on the state of Texas open meeting laws, that was not an emergency. It was only the 24-hour. If you set it for the typical 72-hour notice, you're free to do that. But that had nothing to do with mayor. I was simply the messenger because I have to go to her or Mr. Bounds, whoever's our attorney at the time, to make sure what we're doing fits within Texas laws. And that was not deemed an emergency based on Texas laws. That's what happened with that. Councilman Jones?
Talking to other legal counsel or guidance, it was stated that the list of items in which we have received does fall under emergency, of an emergency act being needed. So I'm not sure who's the person in which could differentiate between something being life-threatening, such as mold and different things. But when you say municipal attorney, some municipal attorneys would say that we could hold an emergency meeting underneath those things, but then when we try,
Well, we can only follow the ones that we contract with. Formerly that was Attorney Kerwin, so it's not even just Attorney Hayes, but I'm hoping mold is not really contagious because City Hall has had mold for years, and we've been meeting in it, and we're trying to eradicate it, under our FEMA stuff. So we got mold in this building. They had mold in our dormitory on campus. They got a couple of buildings on campus that they're just reopening because of mold. So while they're trying to, hold on, please, let's all, it's being recorded, let's speak one at a time. But those issues, as was said here, are being addressed, and again, you had a couple of individuals, I didn't know they were coming, but the management from Panther Hills asking the folks to get with them and give them 24 hours for whatever they may or may not. But Attorney Bounds, for the record, the state of Texas definition on what it requires to hold an emergency 24-hour meeting without the usual 72-hour notice, could you shed some light on that so we can kind of, again, we're just making sure everybody
If
understands.
there is a public emergency, you can hold a meeting on, I think it's 2-hour notice, instead of 72-hour notice. The 2-hour rule is subject to judicial review. In other words, the judge will can make his own independent determination whether there's a true emergency or not. I don't know very much. I know a little bit about the Panther situation, Panther Hills, from talking to other attorneys in my office about it. But I don't have enough information to determine whether I would have deemed it an
I had a
emergency or not.
question, it's
Yes.
just for the attorney real quick. What constitutes an emergency? There should be there's three elements or 2 elements, or what would one call this an emergency meeting for? Can you tell us that?
I usually defer to city council to determine what an emergency is. And if
Right.
as long as it is, as long as it's reasonable, and I can convince a district court judge that it's reasonable, I think that that's it's ultimately a council decision as to what constitutes an emergency. Subject to judicial review for reasonableness.
I had I think Councilman
Hold on.
Brenda had a point.
Yes.
First off, we understand the emergency situation, but I don't think that's the issue for tonight. I think we understand going forward what the issue is for tonight. So my question is for Councilman Jones and Wallace. Can you explain the process of the temporary injunction, and what are the things we're asking for specifically to be included in the temporary injunction?
Okay, so a temporary injunction will be filed to, and if I'm saying it wrong, please correct me. But a temporary injunction is filed to the district courts. Let me give a legal definition of what it is. Just so we have a clear understanding. Alright, so a temporary injunction is a court order prohibiting an action by a party to a lawsuit until there has been a trial or other court action. The purpose of a temporary injunction is to maintain the status quo and prevent irreparable damage or preserve the subject matter of the litigation until the trial is over. After the trial, the court may issue a permanent injunction or dissolve the temporary injunction. So the thing about it is, right now, we have not been updated on the inspection reports. Everything, to our knowledge, has failed from what is being seen. So right now, Bill Veritas is Panther Hill Apartment, they're currently on a path of creating more buildings. I want to say they want to move students in by the end of October, if I'm not correct. Or if I'm correct. So having that said, it would be to stop, continue to build and address the issues that is seen as, hazardous, or as an emergency meeting would state that is. that is exists only if an immediate action is required of a governmental body because of imminent threat to public health and safety. And so with especially some of the issues like sewage and feces coming through the shower, I would assume that it constitutes under that.
So, so in summary, we're asking for a temporary injunction until a complete inspection is completed and submitted to council for the buildings that are currently inhabited.
Correct.
And is that also inclusive of the current buildings that are being building? So would the injunction ask for us to say timeout on building new buildings and until these have been resolved that currently are occupied? And so this injunction is not, we're not asking for people to be moved out. We're asking for no more development to move forward until we have all inspection reports that we don't have on all the current occupied buildings and no one else be allowed to occupy an additional building. Because this was only, the issue for me, we were only talking about buildings 9 and 10, 12. We got a report that showed it failed. We gave a temporary CO, and with the understanding that we was all on the same page, that we were gonna get the full report that it passed. We still don't have that report. From that, we've asked, there's been 2 other regular scheduled, not even emergency meetings. We've had 2 other regular city council meetings where it could have been on the agenda to be discussed before it got to this place. And we know we don't have to invite Panther Hill owners because they're a private development. We're saying that based upon the reported information we got, what we heard tonight and what we've been hearing for the last month, what ABC 13 or Channel 2 had 2 weeks ago, that we do something to move forward. And so hopefully with this injunction, we're asking for nobody be allowed to occupy any additional buildings from the buildings that are already currently occupied, and that all the buildings that are currently occupied building, and I'll give them to you so we have them for the record, or someone else can do it. I'll just give you the buildings. Buildings 1, 5, 9, 12, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, and 32.
You didn't want no one else to write that down?
Oh, it's in this report. It's in the fire inspector report that we thought we voted down, but I don't even want to get into that. In the report, there's some buildings listed, and so those are my 2 concerns that I hope that are included. The attorney would be the one who would do this. We'd make the motion, and then it would direct the attorney to file the injunction. We would need to let them know what it is we want.
If you read item 11, it doesn't speak to taking an action, so I'm not sure we can entertain a motion to take an action. It's not a vote.
Discuss community meeting and vote requesting temporary.
And the community meeting,
And vote. Yeah.
and their vote requesting.
That's it, we're
You're
voting
voting,
to
yeah.
request a temporary.
No, I said they voted.
No, they voted.
Me.
It's
So it says discuss community meeting and vote requested. When you put and, it excludes.
The meeting and the vote.
Can someone make
It's
some?
all
We've
right.
already had the meeting.
Hold on.
And you
let's
already
get some-
voted.
Hold on, let's get some order,
I'm
Councilwoman
not up
Williams.
there.
I have a question. We're talking about going forward with an injunction and not allowing any more students to move in, and I'm assuming the students that live there, they're supposed to move out. My next question is, where does this council want those students to go? Are we gonna pay for them to be housed somewhere else while this injunction is going through? How are these students gonna be taken care of while we are in the process of filing an injunction on students that already don't have nowhere to stay? So if we file this injunction, what is, and I need to speak to you, Mr. Attorney, what is our responsibility?
I guess like,
They specifically stated that
hold on, hold on.
What
If-
I consider-
If you really want my legal advice, I would suggest that we go into a closed meeting under section 551.071 regarding consultation with attorney, because what I say may, could have an impact upon the city's.
Okay.
Before we go in there, I want to be very clear, that's why I stated it. I didn't say about kicking anybody out their apartment. We said not allowing people to move in.
And I didn't
But
say
if it's
kick
so
out.
hard,
I
why
said-
would you-
Hold on, Ms. Brown, Ms. Brown.
Can I-
Council,
Ms. Brown?
hold on, Council Williams, finish your point, so we can.
My point was to make sure that we are not inviting any new people into the building,
Right.
to allow any more confusion. And that until we move forward, before they can put up another building, that they bring any issues, rectify those up to date. And that would clear up everything. If they want the other buildings to be up and open, they're gonna rectify all these issues. You can't say you just opened a new building, but all the people in the apartments are having issues. That's what the manager said.
Okay, hold on, let me make a suggestion to council. We've only got a couple of general things to touch on, so that we don't have to come back in after executive session. Can we run through those real quickly, so after executive session, we're done? Or did y'all wanna come back and,
After the executive session, we still have to come back in and cast a vote for apply.
if there's action in executive session?
Yeah, let's go now and come back. Because we don't wanna prolong this, this is the reason why we haven't been able to have we just wanted to have a conversation, and we can barely get that. I just wanna have a conversation, if someone has all the answers.
Actually, could we move?
Rest of the agenda,
Yeah, because 13 and 12 are important key issues.
So
Okay.
what are we saying we're gonna do?
If we can go to the next, finish her up. Item, okay, if we're in consensus, item 12, discuss and take action on travel policy, Councilwoman Williams.
Ms. Hayes has, it. She didn't send it.
Okay, so
No action?
we agree, no action. Item 13, discuss and take action on drainage issues within the city, Councilman Wallace.
I'll make this brief, because I was gonna use the projector, but that's messed up. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna kind of talk through it, and then I'll send all y'all a copy of the email, or a copy of the presentation.
Unless you want to table it till you do your whole presentation, like before the EDC is doing, you can do that as well. Because when you get it, be good to see.
Yeah, so I'll just table it. I'll send it to y'all beforehand, so y'all can look at it, and then if there's any discussion, we can talk about it.
So you will carry it over.
Yeah, so I move to table item 13, discuss and take action on drainage issues within the city to next council meeting.
It's been probably moved and seconded that item 13 be tabled, discuss and take action on drainage issues within the city. You've heard the motion, ready for the question. All in favor say aye. Ayes have it. Item 14, discuss, consider, and take action on wastewater facility issues. Councilman Rowland.
Same thing here, the wastewater treatment facility, presentation will be done by Trilogy Engineering Services, on October 8th. They're gonna talk about the site assessment, some things that we needed to, identify for wastewater treatment facilities, some costs and timeframes. So I'm asking this be moved to the October 8th agenda. I move that this be moved to the October 8th. I move that we table this agenda item number 14 until the October 8th city council meeting.
Second.
It's been probably moved and seconded that item 14 be tabled until the October 8th meeting. Discuss, consider, and take action on wastewater facility issues. You heard the motion, ready for the questions.
My unreadiness is that I stated the company, and I want to make sure that we put that on there. With Trilogy Engineering Services. Thank you.
Any other unreadiness? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, have the same right? Ayes have it. Item 15, discuss, consider, and take action, plan the city's 50th anniversary. Councilman Rowland.
For the, as you know, year 2019, that whole year we'll be celebrating 50 years. I'm actually gonna be bringing to the next city council meeting the structure of the committee and some of the potential activities and things that people, community people can volunteer to do. And so if we could move that to our October 18th meeting as well. So I move that we discuss and take action to move agenda item number 15 to the October 8th meeting.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that item 15, discuss, consider, and take action, plan the city's 50th anniversary, be moved to the October 8th meeting. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Questions?
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed have the same right? Ayes have it. Item 16, discuss, consider, and take action on January 8th, 2018 plan and zoning applications for possible spot zoning. Been doing some research, and it looks like we do need to be safe, revisit doing just that plot of land. I know we had other information previously, but changing that appears to be the definition of spot zoning. We need to change a larger area, maybe both sides of the street or something, but,
You have the information that,
Yeah.
all this, that,
Because they-
Attorney Bounds,
the documentation.
Attorney Bounds,
Yes.
would you share with us the definition of spot zoning?
I would suggest we might want to discuss that item also in executive session.
Yep.
Okay.
At the same time we
That's
discuss.
the last one, so the timing's perfect.
Now, I'm gonna, Mr. Mayor, I move that item 16 be tabled until the October 8th city council meeting, so we can be provided some information about how spot zoning can apply to these, specific properties. And, I would like actual written documentation, not legal opinions.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that item 16 be discussed, consider, and take action on the January 2018 plan and zoning applications for possible spot zoning be tabled
Yes.
until the October
Hey,
8th meeting,
no, we can do October 22nd.
October 22nd meeting, with documentation, or definition of spot zoning, correct, with documentation. Is that the appropriate, counsel?
Yes.
Okay, you've heard the motion, you ready for the question? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Just for clarification on that motion, the definition is also supposed to include how it applies to these properties, not just the definition.
Yeah, I think we're here to fully incorporate that, yeah, we'll get you what you need. No problem.
Did we vote on these already?
And they're great problem, that's what I want to talk about. Okay, we are now in recess at 9:29 to go into executive session for vice counsel.